Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Chee-Tash. My name is Chris, and today we're going to continue along with the book Eloquent JavaScript by Mergen Haverbeek. Talking about Chapter 8, we had just started it a few weeks ago. Bugs and Errors is the title of the chapter. And today we're going to be talking about types. We have made other videos actually about types in JS. So this is going to be a slight review or a continuation of some of the concepts from those videos, and how in JavaScript there isn't types because, well, it's a dynamically typed language. It's not statically typed like Java, where you do have to declare the type of variable when you instantiate it, like if it's an int or if it's a string or if it's a boolean, etc. In JS, you don't have to do that. But there are ways to work around it so that you can check for types. And types can be actually pretty helpful in programming. You can, for example, you can unearth compiler errors. So before the program even runs, you can get a feel for any errors in your logic, if there's mismatched types, etc. You can understand what specific parameters a function needs to take in. And if you send in different type parameters of a different type, well, then the function wouldn't function, no pun intended, properly. So if you needed an int and a number for a function, but you sent in a string, obviously the function could exhibit weird behavior. And in that case, you will know what you can get from a function. So you know that if a function is going to return an array, or if it's going to return a string or a number, etc. So there's ways in which types can be very helpful. And I know people love JavaScript because it is kind of like the wild, wild west. That's what we would say in coding boot camp, because I did a Java coding boot camp, and we would always say, man, JavaScript's so weird. It's like the wild, wild west. And there's a good and a bad side to that. So now I thought in JS that there were no types. This is what I said earlier, but you can get around this, and you can use types, or you can use logic to check for types in JavaScript. There are workarounds to it, and these are some things, a couple of these things we talked about in previous videos, like using the typeof operator. So there's this keyword typeof in JavaScript where you can check if something is of a type number, for example, or if it's a type string, or if it's a type array, or if it's a function, etc. And here's an example of how you would use this. You could use it as a check on parameters for a function like it's doing here. So if you pass in the params 5 and 3, this is going to return the sum of 5 and 3. However, if you return if you put into the function a string 5, it's going to check, and it's going to throw an error saying that both arguments should be numbers. So typeof operator returns no, it doesn't return a boolean, but it returns the type of the variable. And if you were to like maybe console.log type of, number 5, it would return number. If you were to console.log type of string 5, it would return, I believe, string. So you can use this typeof operator to check for the types of, and then go about your logic depending on what type it is. So that's an example of typeof. We learned about this in a video, instanceof, and it's not both capital letters here, OF. It's just like you see it in this coding example, instance of lowercase. And this is another type operator. This is another operator that does in fact return a boolean here, and it will return a boolean if an object is of type object, if it is a subtype of another object. So in this case, we have a function. This is the function constructor of dog. It's got 2 fields, name and breed. And you have this function called isDog, which is going to take in a type of animal, and you're going to check if this animal is an instance of dog. It's going to return true or false. So we have dog1 and dog2. Dog1 follows the constructor, the functional constructor operation here by putting in two strings, a name and a breed. So we've got Buddy and a golden retriever. And this is going to return true. Now you can see in dog2, it's doing the same thing, right? It has an object with two properties, name and breed, just like your functional constructor up at the top, dog. However, this does not follow the functional construction convention, which is using a new keyword and then the dog functional name. So essentially this object is just like a plain object that JS doesn't really know what to do with it. So that's why when you say isDog and you pass in dog2, it's going to return false because you're not using the new keyword and you're not using the dog function call here. And again, it's going to return if dog1 is an instance of dog, it is, so it'll return true. Is dog2 an instance of dog, and it's not, so it'll return false. So we've learned about these two in previous videos, but there is a way to use this constructor property and checking types as well. So we have this function create element. It looks like we're accessing the document to create an element of a certain type, which is passed into the function. So now we're looping through for each key in the attributes that are passed in. We're going to check if the attributes has own property of key and if it's a type of, and I'm sorry, this got kind of cut off a little bit here, but the real bread and butter of this is the second if conditional, where we have the attributes that you passed in and we're accessing it by a key value pair here with key dot constructor, and if that is an object, if that is equal to an object, if it is, we're going to do some more looping and we're going to make some assignments here. Else if it's not, we're going to handle attributes with string values. So if it is of a type object, we're going to handle attributes with object values. If it's not, we're going to handle parentheses key. And you're checking if it is of a type depending on what you assign it. In this case, you're assigning 10. It's not a string. It is the number 10. So you can access the constructor and then the name property of whatever variable you have. And you can check if it is of a certain type. So in this case, we have this validate data function. And in this case, this will throw the error. So I think that's the biggest difference between Constructor.name types in JavaScript, and that is via typescript, which is a statically typed extension of JavaScript. I've used this a little bit with React. This is an example of doing that. So you can actually create, this parameter needs to be of a type number, string, etc. Maybe you can do that. And again, I don't think it was originally created to do that. But if you want